Now this will be the only event moving in Brooklyn on Saturday, September 24th. Get ready for Kings of Kings 2. Kings of Kings 2. Vinci meets Greens. Going down inside 178 Newport Street, Brooklyn, New York. This will be one wicked fest featuring live from St. Vincent. Magical.
Has everything this might
Magical. The Road Match King. Kemi and Malo, and representing Greens, Dash, Was Waves, Lunis Park and Electrify, Mr. Legs, Inspector, Push, Quickie and more. Some of Brooklyn's top DJs are coming to shell the place. Hosted by Big Pumps HD, and it's the official Miami Carnival send-off. Get your $40 tickets now on eventbrite.com, www.kingsofkings2.eventbrite.com, or contact 646-363-1020, 347-651-3745. Going down inside 178 Newport Street, Brooklyn, New York. Doors open 9 p.m. Showtime midnight. Saturday, September 24th. Kings of Kings 2.
Jesus Christ, mother walk. Look at people behavior.
Welcome to Ride Along Live. Welcome to Wednesday on the Ride. Yeah, brace yourself. Seatbelts on. If you're driving in your car because it's drive time, you're probably making your way from work. Honk your horn. Yeah, honk it again. Alert everybody, guys. It's Ride Along Live, and I must say, we're a little bit early today. Yeah? We are a little bit early today. I'll tell you why. We have a lot to discuss, a whole lot of things to discuss. And for the past 2 days or so, you guys been giving me a bad rap, right? Or they've been saying, oh, I'm late, always late, I'm late again, twice in a row. So I say, you see this? You see it today? I go show all you. I go show all you, right? So I am early today. Hulk it up. Share the thing, guys, because there's so much to discuss. As you guys come and go ahead and share up the thing, share it, and say, I share. And because I started a little bit late, I want to kind of vibe with you guys a little bit. Today we have lawyer, attorney, Anslem Clouden. And if you guys been following all that's been happening after the story broke yesterday, you know that this is a very topical issue. Everyone has something to say on it. Everyone has an opinion on it. And we think that, you know, in order to get the information, we kind of have to go straight to the source. So attorney Anslem Clouden, who is the lawyer representing Mr. Alexander Clark, is here to explain to us the whole situation, the whole scenario, what transpired, how that transpired, and what happened, and his representation for the client. We'll tell all y'all about it. So, share the thing. Share the thing, share the thing, share the thing, share the thing, share it. Delon, how you doing? Big up yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Marilyn, thank you so much. Lacey, thank you. Who else we have? Everybody share? After you share, say I share. Cynthia, thank you so much for sharing. Deborah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Peter Mitchell, you're gonna big up today too. Glenda, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Earlier today, following the breaking news from yesterday, we at Ride Along decided to go on a search for information, right? So earlier this morning, we posted a reward ransom of $2,000. And our intention primarily is to get information onto the retrieval of the laptop containing the transcript that has gone missing in court, right? So that was our intention. Now, we know very well that it probably would do nothing to assist this case. I think this is a foregone conclusion. The final verdict has been met. But we believe that the return or finding some information about this laptop that would be missing would answer a lot of questions and also for future cases. So we had a $2,000 ransom for any information leading to getting us more info on that laptop, right? Shortly after we published that, we got calls from a number of our friends there in the diaspora and donors who increased that $2,000. Initially went up to $3,500, and then we got a call from another one of our donors that increased it to another $5,000. So at present, we are looking at about $8,500 for a reward leading to finding out more information about a laptop that have been missing. Now, I know a lot of you guys watching, you're asking, what laptop is he talking about? Let me bring the case all into perspective. Let me bring it all into perspective, right? Let me tell you what happened. Now, in 2014, right? 2014, this is what happened, right? This was an article that was printed in the Daily Mail. It titled, "Murder in Paradise. A British prison guard turned businessman jailed for 67 years after strangling his wife, 27, in front of their 2-year-old daughter and burying her body in a shallow grave near her Caribbean island, near her home in the Caribbean island of Grenada." He went on to explain the situation. He said Alexander Clark, who was 34 at the time, battered Nixian Downs Clark and strangled her when she threatened to leave him after he had allegedly had an affair with a couple's 17-year-old babysitter. The former prison officer from London killed his wife and on their 4th wedding anniversary in 2014. It went on to say that he buried her body in a suitcase. And by the way, that particular story made it on Amazon News. It was one of the most gruesome crime that was ever committed, right? So he buried her body in a shallow grave that was found, buried in a suitcase in a shallow grave on the outskirts of her home in St. George's, Grenada. 5 days later, Miss Downs Clark was from Grenada, but grew up in London. She met Clark in England after she migrated in 2009. Now, fast forward, he was sentenced to 67 years in prison, right? 67 years in prison. And at his sentencing, he was given 67 years to life, right, in prison. But the case was then appealed. The lawyer that represented him on the appeal is Mr. Anslem Clouden. That's where he comes in. Yesterday, we found out, guys, during the process, the process of the appeal, the information, the transcript have to be presented to the court, right? Based on the previous case, have to be presented to the court. We found out yesterday, guys, that the laptop, right, that contained the transcript went missing. For better understanding as to all of this stuff, we're going to take a quick clip from GBN News yesterday, and it kind of explained the story a little bit more in detail. Check this out.
Alexander Robert Clark walked out of His Majesty's prison on Tuesday as a free man due to the loss of transcript within the Supreme Court. In 2014, the then 32-year-old husband was charged with non-capital murder of his then 27-year-old wife, Nixon Dow Clark, after he led police to a shallow grave where her body was found in a suitcase. The killing was said to have happened on the couple's fourth wedding anniversary, when Mrs. Clark allegedly found out Alexander was having an affair with their teenage babysitter, who was also under investigation. In 2016, Alexander Clark was found guilty of non-capital murder and was sentenced to 67.5 years in prison by Madam Justice Paula Guilford. After 8 years in prison and his attempts to appeal his sentence, he is now a free man. Anslem Clouden is the lawyer representing Alexander Clark, and he explains that in February of 2016, he appealed his client's case, and after 3 years, they were unable to secure the transcript of the hearing.
So the court made certain inquiries. What has become of the transcript? And the registrar advised the court that in fact the computer that had the recordings of the judge was stolen. Yeah. There was a case, and this is becoming quite prevalent because of the lack of proper security of documents in the court.
Clouden says because of the lack of security for court documents and equipment, the transcript was lost, and as such, his client was unable to appeal his case at no fault to him. Due to this, and the fact that the court has no legal right to order a retrial, his client was immediately released with a reduced sentence of time served.
So that we appealed to the Court of Appeal, saying, look, you cannot have this man in prison without his ability to prosecute his appeal. It's unfair. We argued that, look, you have to grant a stay of proceedings because there is no evidence that the stolen computer containing that information would ever be retrieved. And you cannot have an accused person in prison where he has appealed and his appeal cannot be heard because of the state's problem, not his. He had nothing to do with the disappearance of the computer.
The lawyer believes that this ruling will set a precedent for other court matters in which evidence is lost.
Notwithstanding the resistance from the DPP's office, Mr. Howard Pinnock, he came up with all kinds of alternatives he suggested to the court so that they could, if possible, they could come back and charge Mr. Thing again. Of course not. That would be contrary to the law because he has at bar what is called an atrophy convict. So he was convicted on the same evidence, and they can't use that evidence against him any further. Mr. Pinnock, the senior Crown Counsel, in fact indicated that there are a few cases of like condition. And it is very likely that this case would be a precedent-setting case.
For GBN News, I am Rena Pett Thomas reporting.
Right. All right. Thank you, Rena Pierre and GBN for that news yesterday. Guys, help me to welcome on the live right now. He's joining us via video. Last time he was here, he was joining us via audio, but we get all of that stuff sorted out. Mr. Anslem Clouden. How are you doing, sir?
Well, not bad at all, my dear friend. Save and except I want to be particularly grateful for having the program. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank
It's
you
always
so
a
much.
pleasure. I think we get a chance to learn a lot about the law, the legal system. When you're on the program, you come with a wealth of knowledge and information. So it's always good having you on. But let's start with this particular case, Mr. Clouden. Your client,
Yes.
Alexander Clark, right? He was found guilty. He, well, probably not as much, but as close as admitting to his guilt. He basically brought the police officers to the grounds where he buried his wife in the shallow grave. What was the grounds for appeal then in that case?
Well, this is a really pointed question, and to be quite frank, I must give you great credit because you're the only journalist that has zeroed in on the case in the context of what are the grounds for appeal, and that brings me to the law. Now, I did the trial, and we appealed the decision of the court. The trial constituted Madam Justice Guilford with a jury.
Right.
And after a finding of guilt, a unanimous finding of guilt by the jury, and a sentence of 67.5 years, on the 9th of February 2016,
yes,
I appealed. Now, because we didn't have, and the situation in Grenada, like, we're in the third world, you do not get transcripts within 48 hours.
Right.
In the first world, you get a transcript. When I practiced in Nova Scotia, Canada, you get a transcript within 24 hours of a trial, of all the proceedings. And that transcript is also stored, not only the backup mechanisms, so that if there is a storm or earthquake and what have you, and certain documents cannot be found immediately on the system, there's always a backup system that could resort to.
Right.
That usually involves secured premises. Good. So we appealed in 2016. The 5th of February 2016, we appealed the decision of the court. Now, it took us some time, but because one of the cardinal issues of the appeal was grounds of appeal or application 9, grounds to follow. On the document of appeal, the notice of appeal or application for leave to appeal against conviction and sentence, there was no leave necessary because it was a final judgment and we had appeal within time. So that he was convicted on the date of conviction was the 22nd of December, 2015. But his sentence didn't take place until February. So that we had to await the pronouncement of sentence to determine if we were going to appeal conviction and sentence.
Right. I guess in a nutshell, what I'm trying to find out, were you appealing on the merit that he did not commit the crime or he was falsely accused?
No.
Was that the merit for the appeal?
No, not at all.
So it was the appeal on
technicalities
of the case, basically.
Yeah. There was no such grounds advanced as to whether there was a misdirection by the judge, whether they admitted evidence that they had not to have admitted, and therefore we appealed to have the conviction quashed. Nothing of the sort. We appealed in a normal course of things, and we were awaiting the transcripts to perfect the grounds of appeal.
Right.
That's, in essence, what transpired. So, come 2016, 2017, no transcripts. He's in prison. 2018, 2019, we begin now to become concerned.
Right.
Now, to be quite frank, there was a sort of delay. The collapse of the judiciary in Grenada was imminent by then. The prior administration, the Keith Mitchell government, never respected judgments. They neglected the court. The judiciary, as a co-equal arm of government, was being oppressed in the context that they couldn't function as a co-equal arm, so that the executive predominated and they wouldn't give monies for the registry, they wouldn't do this, and even so, they wouldn't honor judgments that were passed. And you're quite familiar with certain judgments, including Dorset Charles and the like. They just refused to pay. So that we found that we made the appeal in 2016, 2017, 2018. By 2019, we began to write to the registry, inquiring as to why we cannot have the transcripts so as to perfect our appeal to get before the court. Now, we think we had good grounds of appeal based on the judge's summation of the case. Note the word summation, because this is the most important aspect that was argued at appeal. Those were the documents missing, the summation and the record of proceedings. But I'll point out something to you that is puzzling to me, puzzling to the Court of Appeal. So by 2019, we wrote to the registry and we said, look, we want our appeal to be perfected. There was always a problem with getting transcripts typed because the government had never hired sufficient stenographers.
Right.
So sometimes we had to send transcripts to Antigua at $5 per page. And you know, you're dealing with men who are accused of criminal activity. They don't have much money. Their parents don't have much money. There's no legal aid. So that it takes a tremendously long time to get transcripts back. And unless you can afford it, then, of course, you wait for years, 8, 9, 10 years. I've had prisoners who were there for 9 years walk out of prison because the transcripts cannot be produced. It is the state's responsibility to produce transcripts. Good. So let me read you a letter, and I'll start by telling you, because I must tell you the grounds of our appeal and how we succeeded in getting Clark free. On the 27th of November 2019, the registry wrote to us saying, the Supreme Court Registry hereby acknowledges receipt of all your previous correspondence. So I've been writing to them frequently. Yeah. I need the transcript. Remember, this guy is a British citizen, and you know the British High Commission in Barbados keeps calling me from time to time, inquiring as to his status of appeal. So he said the registry hereby acknowledge receipt of your previous correspondence, ending with a letter to the Deputy Registrar of the 5th of November 2019. The registry further apologizes for the delay in providing you with this response. Please be advised that the requested transcript is being prepared internally by the registry's court reporting unit.
Right.
This document is almost complete and is expected to be made available to parties shortly, in advance of the next sitting of the Court of Appeal in Grenada. Therefore, the registry believes that the most expedient step would be to complete the process initially. The registry has followed the chief registrar, that's the registrar from St. Lucia, because I've been communicating with her too.
Right.
For Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal of the status of this matter and the intended approach. That is, make a note of this. This is the 27th of November, 2019.
No, I understand the technicalities, but I guess what I'm trying to get at, do you think that then the loopholes was exploited in terms of getting him out of jail, even knowing the fact that he did pretty much plead guilty to the thing. I mean, he was found guilty.
No, he never pleaded guilty. He was found guilty by a jury.
No, he didn't plead guilty, but he literally brought the police to the area on the ground, the shallow grave.
Yeah.
Plus a number of other things. He said that he didn't expect it to kill her. All of that stuff was said in court on file, right?
Well, let me tell you, Junior. We raised certain defenses at trial.
Right.
1, accident, 2, provocation, and 3, we fought for manslaughter because there was a fight. Now, the gruesomeness and grievous aspect of this whole crime is the fact that he buried her in a suitcase. If he had called the police and said to the police, look, my wife and myself had a fight, as we raised on trial, because I was the trial attorney, that it was an accident. The jury didn't buy that because they came back with a unanimous verdict of guilty. So they didn't buy the defense line of argument. But the point I'm making is, husband and wife fight all the time. And by accident sometimes, or by intention whatsoever, someone dies. That is provocation, which reduces murder to manslaughter.
Right.
Okay? Good. So, to answer your question, the guilt or innocence was not the issue on appeal.
Mm-hmm.
The issue on appeal was to truncate and bisect the judge's summing up to determine whether she had admitted hearsay evidence and thus denied the accused of a fair trial. And we were asking the court then, initially, that would have been the posture, and the thrust of our argument was to ask the court to consider all the evidence, but we couldn't go further than that because there was no evidence. Remember I said initially, grounds to follow. You can only perfect grounds if you have the transcript so that you could bisect the judge's summation and look at the record of proceedings, see where there have been difficulties, and then appeal, but that was absent. So the court had no choice. Let me tell you how we backed them up. In the sense that, look, in law, and you can take my word for it, a court can only order a retrial. And I'll tell you where the retrial stuff came in. It was on one of the applications for bail that I withdrew because the judge, the then presiding president of the court, Mr. Justice Davison Batiste, mentioned obiter dicta that he is inclined to order a retrial.
Right.
So I decided, what? A retrial? How could you order a retrial when, in fact, you do not have the record of proceedings before you to determine whether this conviction is unsafe and unsatisfactory, even though you go right up to the Privy Council? I did a case, Bennett and John, here years ago in 2001, where the Privy Council ordered a retrial on certain grounds, and there was a dissenting judgment by Lord Stern saying that in those circumstances a retrial was necessary. But in our circumstances, it was so peculiar that the court had nothing before it to assess whether the conviction was safe or unsatisfactory. And therefore, they were constrained and prohibited from using sections 41 of the Grenada Act. Let me read a short paragraph 48, because this is informative. It is section 48 in Bennett and John versus the Queen, Grenada, 2001 UKPC. I appeared at the Privy Council in London on this case and got the Privy Council to quash the convictions, and these men were free. But listen to the dissenting judge. because they purported to want to send it back to the Court of Appeal in Grenada, or the Eastern Caribbean Court, to determine whether there should be a retrial. But they could have only done so with respect to Bennett because they had the record of proceedings before them, and they were able to adjudge whether they can order a retrial on the basis that they found the conviction to be unsafe and unsatisfactory. In our case, no such material was before the Court of Appeal.
Right.
Okay? So, an order for a retrial may only be made if the interests of justice so require. Sections 41(2) of the Act number 17, Grenada. The purpose of this statutory provision is to enable a court to order a retrial to ensure that justice is done. They couldn't do that in this case because there was nothing before them to say that the conviction, that they could assess whether the conviction was unsafe and unsatisfactory.
Right.
So we then appealed on the basis, after all these, and I'll read some of the registry thing to you. One of the grounds of our appeal, it's stated in the judgment, the Court of Appeal judgment, Alexander Clark and the Queen, and the King, sorry, because when the judge, that was Tuesday, His Majesty Charles III was then in office.
Right.
So all legal documents that purported to be with the Queen had to be changed instantaneously to the King.
Yes.
So listen to this is the judgment of the Court of Appeal, and this is what it says. Certificate of result of application. Our application was 1. Application for a stay of proceedings. The conviction and sentence be quashed and a verdict of acquittal entered. Well, they couldn't enter a verdict of acquittal, but they could stay the proceedings because they had nothing before them to determine whether there's merit in the appeal. No document. The second ground, that the appellant's sentence be commuted to manslaughter and the sentence reduced to time served. He had by then served 8 years in prison.
Right.
The third ground, that the applicant be sentenced to time served, and it was heard on the 20th of September 2022 before His Lordship, the Honorable Mr. Davison Calvin Batiste, Chief Justice acting, or Ladyship, the Honorable Madam Judge Margaret Price Finley, Justice of Appeal, and His Lordship, the Honor Mr. Trevor Ward, Justice of Appeal, in the presence of Mr. Anslem Clouden for the applicant, appellant, and Mr. Howard Pinnock, Senior Crown Counsel, for the respondent. And the Chief Justice, I hereby certify that on the 20th day of September 2022, the court made an order as follows. 1, a permanent stay. That's the first thing we ask for.
Right.
Of proceedings is granted. And 2, the applicant is to be immediately released from custody.
No, I totally get that, Mr. Clouden. I mean, you are representing it well from a legal perspective. I guess where I might be looking at it, and a lot of the citizens might be looking at it, is from a moral perspective, like from a citizen of Grenada perspective, right? Yes. Would you be comfortable knowing that incident and the gruesomeness of this crime, where this particular individual was found guilty of strangling this individual and putting her inside of a suitcase and burying her in a shallow grave? Are you comfortable as a citizen to have this person released back into, say, your neighborhood?
Let me tell you, I have no difficulty with the release of Mr. Clark. You know why?
Okay.
For 2 reasons. 1, the law is the law.
Right.
And the rule of law, no man is above the law, and all are subject to the law.
Yes. Agreed.
And we must comply with the law. You know, the prophet Amos once said, man, let justice roll down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let me tell you, it is repugnant to good thinking. It is repugnant to the rule of law that a man who, for whatever reason, a crime has been committed, he has buried the lady in a suitcase, he and his mistress, who turned, he and his accomplice, who turned state witness. because it was on her property the body was interred. But let me tell you, man, it must be objectionable to the conscience of men that here is a man who seeks to appeal his conviction.
Yes.
And he is denied the ability so to do on the basis that the state, who is in adverse position to him and who should have perfected and procured and secured the documents, have failed to do so.
Yeah, and
are you to keep him in prison ad infinitum,
right,
or till he dies? No, let me take you to one other thing, a statement from the registry. The registrar, the government, man, you know, and this all happened before June 23rd, so it has no implication on the present administration. And I have no doubt, emerging out of this case, this administration would do everything within its powers to ensure that this occasion or this happening doesn't occur again. Let me read to you the final letter from the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. There was an application for bail in 2022 in March, because I decided, look, if you can't produce these documents, and they have written to the court saying they were going to produce it, they can't produce it, and when the bail application came up, the prosecution, the DPP, Christopher Nelson, Queen's Counsel, appeared. And let me read to you what the court had said then. Certificate of result of application. We were forced to withdraw our application for bail because the presiding judge at the time, the president of the court with two other judges of the Court of Appeal, decided he could not grant bail ad infinitum. It would be contrary to law, because bail contemplates a hearing at some subsequent occasion or period after bail is granted. So here the registrar is writing, certificate of result of application. This application for bail was heard on the 4th of April, 2022, before His Lordship, the Honorable Mr. Davison Kelvin Batiste, Justice of Appeal, Her Ladyship, the Honorable Madame Louise Esther Blenman, Justice of Appeal, and His Lordship, the Honorable Mr. Mario Michel, Justice of Appeal, in the presence of Mr. Anslem Clouden for the applicant appellant, and Mr. Christopher Nelson, Queen's Counsel, Director of Public Prosecution for the respondent. I hereby certify that on the 4th day of April 2022, the court made an order as follows. The bail application is withdrawn and accordingly dismissed.
Right.
Okay. So that left me open now. The judge having said arbiter that I should proceed to perfect the plea based on whatever grounds, and I should submit grounds.
Right.
So
no, let me tell you, if I haven't told you that before, Mr. Clouden, you're a good lawyer. You are an excellent lawyer. I tell you, you represent well. You know the law to a T. You know this thing. You were born to be this. You was born for this. Seriously. But I guess, and a lot of people I know, get emotional about stuff. Yeah. But someone told me, law is not about if you are guilty or not guilty. Someone said it's about what you could prove. It's about what you could prove, and you know how to win for your client. I can't be mad at you. I can't say nothing bad about you. You're doing your job.
Precisely.
And you're doing your job well.
And I found the circumstances to be gruesome. You know, I live here. I mean,
that is what I want to get out. That emotion, that human part of you that says, oh my God, that's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's son.
Yeah.
The gruesomeness of that, you know, stuffing her in a suitcase and burying her in a shallow grave, even if it was in a fight, that's gruesome. And I'm here now saying to the court, he should be released because there is no transcript, or there is that technicality, or there is some minor things that's supposed to happen but didn't happen. So you now in that position, right?
I just
So
give him the benefit of the law, man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Junior. Let me tell you the benefit of the law. They couldn't find a way out. It took an hour and a half of arguments from the DPP.
Yes.
But you see, they couldn't engage. They wanted to order a retrial. This is another thing, you know. Look. Put your cameras on. Let me show you.
Yeah. It's on.
This is the thing. You see all the markings. This wasn't no easy walkover, you know, because the court themselves found the whole thing repugnant too. So, but let me tell you, they couldn't get over 41(2) of the act, the statutory act 17, that gave the court powers to order a retrial, as the president had said in March. But he couldn't do that because he had nothing before him. And I was able to cite cases to show you could only do that if you find, as a matter of law, that the conviction was unsafe and unsatisfactory.
Yes.
Then you could either use the proviso and say that no miscarriage of justice has occurred, or you then well, if you don't use the proviso, then you acquit. The Court of Appeal level, because you have looked at the transcript, you have looked at the evidence, counsel has argued and so forth, and you find that there's no miscarriage when you use the proviso.
Right.
But once you declare that the conviction is unsafe and unsatisfactory, and you don't use the proviso, you can order a retrial. The law provides for that. But they have nothing before them to make that assessment that the conviction is unsafe and unsatisfactory, because the record of proceedings, submission of the judge is all gone.
The prosecution had no grounds to stand on.
No grounds to fight with it.
They fell flat. They
on their
they
face.
had nothing. I understand that. I understand.
Yeah,
Let's shift gears a bit, because again, you are the lawyer representing Alex, and that's what you do. That's what you're going to represent. But let me just shift gears a little bit. The disappearance of this laptop or the transcript. A couple of things that don't sound right about this. For one, how long ago did you know that this laptop was missing?
Very good question, George. Excellent question. And to answer you, I will take you to a communique. You know when we knew the laptop was missing?
Yes.
In March 2022. Let me read to you a communique from the registrar to the Court of Appeal. This thing, we've been fighting this for a while, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this goes back to a long struggle of appearances and everything, and the Crown resisting. It was so embarrassing for them. Let me read to you something. Let me take you to the 19th February 2020. Mm-hmm. I think I read to you the one on the 18th December 2019. Letters coming back. I need to proceed with this matter. My client is in jail. We think we have a good argument on appeal on certain aspects of, but if the court decides, well, this is it, we may go to the Privy Council, as I had in previous cases. Anyhow, we get to the 20th. Did I read the letter for you on the 20th? The 19th February 2020. Okay. The registry is writing now. Registry of the Supreme Court, Grenada, and the Western Associated States. It's about time they changed that. The Supreme Court Registry writes in relation to the preparation of the transcript in the captioned matter. Please be advised that the Court Reporting Unit, CRU, has indicated that they have prepared most of the transcript using the available audio and judge's notes.
Right.
However, Despite several attempts to locate the audio of the judge's notes for the portion of the trial dealing with the summation and the plea in mitigation. The summation is the most important document. That's where you couch your grounds of appeal. Anyhow, they remain outstanding. Those two remain outstanding. The CRU therefore does not have the ability to complete the transcript at this point in time. This is since 2020. We know in 2022.
Right.
All right. They say since then they can't complete the transcript.
If since that time, was the family ever informed that the laptop was missing?
Which family?
Either side, both sides.
No. Well, this is a letter from the registry. There's no family to be informed. It's a lawyer,
right,
who's writing, who has to perfect his appeal, who's going to court, asking for transcripts and stuff like that.
Right.
And they're not producing it. So, and then they say, in the circumstances, the registry is asking that both parties give contribution to the following options. One, they're suggesting to us now, both the state. No, they're the state. So they're suggesting to the DPP and myself, listen what they suggest now in 2020. In the circumstances, the registry is asking that both parties give consideration to the following options. One, the parties jointly review their respective notes and agree to produce a joint replication for inclusion in the record for the sections of the transcript that are unavailable. Or two, that in accordance with Civil Procedure Rule 62.3, the parties agree in writing to dispense with the need for the transcript to be included in the record in whole or in part. We look forward to receiving your timely response so that we can make a determination on the way forward. Should you have any further questions and so forth, come to them. The most ridiculous letter, but they want me to collude with the state to put my notes. So that's their responsibility. So that option fell by the wayside. I found it repugnant, abhorrent, and I entertained it with great abhorrence that they're asking me to get together with the DPP and see whatever notes we have and he has. When I'm in cross-examination, this trial took about 8 weeks. I didn't have a junior at the trial with me, so I couldn't take notes. They don't have simultaneous recording on the desk.
Right.
So that I could punch out, and as a practice in Nova Scotia, in Canada, 2 days later, you go to the prothonotary and you ask for a transcript of proceedings. In those days, you pay $24 and you get the full transcript. They don't even have that. So they're depending on my scribbled notes while in cross-examination. They assume that I was making notes.
Right. Okay. Let's take a quick call. Because there's a lot of questions still out there as it relates to that missing laptop. Let's move to the phone lines. Caller live, where are you calling us from?
Calling from Grenada, Junior. Good evening to you and good evening to Mr. Clouden.
Yes.
Mr. Clouden, it's been 6 months because you said that laptop went missing. You found out that the laptop was missing in March. March to now is 6 months. How far has the CID reached in investigating this missing laptop?
Great question.
And secondly, that laptop, a little birdie would have told me that that laptop have evidence of other cases. So what is happening now? Are we going to see that more people will be set free because of evidence that that laptop would have contained? If so, this is a real disaster, and the system has to get down to the bottom. This laptop have to be found. Somebody or the people, because I'm of the opinion that first time I'm ever hearing this. This is not no ordinary disappearance. There are somebody or persons that was involved in the disappearance of this laptop. That is my opinion.
Right.
Thank
we could
you.
only allege. You want me
to respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Junior, you want me to respond to him?
Yes, go right ahead.
But you have asked a marvelous question. You know, that's the same question I've been asking. How does laptop disappear? And there are other cases on it, you know. This is the judge's notes in one case. I assume that there are other cases. But you know what is most important here, my brother? This is not the only case. I mentioned it. There's a big, big drug matter that took place since 2014. Today, they had to recall witnesses, let me tell you. And notes of the magistrate disappeared.
Yeah.
They had to recall witnesses.
We did some digging.
So this is prevalent in the country.
We did some digging.
Keith Mitchell administration never respected the rule of law. They hadn't paid judgments. They got rid of judges. That was the most diabolical government for democracy that Grenada has ever had presiding over its people. Take what I'm telling you.
This particular case, right, is not an isolated case with the missing laptop. We happened to found out about a client that you was representing, Kenson Grimes, a year and so ago. He was charged for rape, and somehow documents went missing as well. This is not an this happens before.
No, they weren't missing necessarily. Let me tell you what had happened. They hadn't prepared the transcript because Kennison didn't have the money to send to Antigua. They have stenographers, court stenographers here, but they were only paying one stenographer. And then lawyers fought and fought. Hey man, look, thank God Almighty that the NDC under Deacon Mitchell and the young men have taken hold of this country, you know. And these are the areas we have to look to innovate, to do the necessary repairs, because, man, we were falling apart as a country.
Yes.
Look, Grimes' case, on 3 occasions, the Court of Appeal ordered that the transcripts be produced because Grimes could not afford to pay for the transcripts.
Yes.
$5 a copy, and there's only one stenographer we have here. I have cases back in all 8-9 years to be tried, you know.
But here's a problem that I'm having, Mr. Clouden. A big problem, and I think that could start the investigation. Again, we are offering up to this point. It is $8,500, and it might go up. It might go up as much as $20,000. I don't know, but this laptop needs to be found.
It must be found.
Who was the last person that had contact with that laptop? Who are the list of people that have contact with that laptop? We even found out, and I don't know if you're aware of it as well. I'm pretty sure that you are. That the said registered office was broken into a few months ago or so, where a list of items was taken. There was $30. There was some funds or so that was inside of there, and they didn't take the money, but they took the laptop. So it seems the perception of what we're seeing is that it was targeted, it was strategic, right? When you look at it, aren't you concerned as a lawyer, because you could also be negatively affected?
Well, if I'm concerned, man, look, I've been clamoring. Look, could you imagine that a big drug case in the country, big drug case, and the magistrate's notes of evidence, certain key evidence by certain police officers and the like, just disappeared, and she had to recall all this evidence, and there's a lot of legal wrangling as to whether what she did was proper. But if she didn't do that, she would have had to discharge the accused persons. Let me tell you something that's happening here, man. And the CID, to this day, I propose to write to the magistrate to ask whether a criminal investigation has been undertaken to determine who tampered with her file. I mean, this is like an uncivilized country, man. And, and this didn't happen. This didn't happen after June 23rd. You know, this been happening prior to that.
Yeah.
So I'm not. And not only that, even with respect to the disappearance of the file, the clerks, the computer, we haven't heard. I didn't make much ado of it to stall my submissions anymore. I was hoping that the court would order a criminal investigation into how this computer was stolen. What investigation was undertaken to determine who stole it, fingerprinting and all this sort of thing?
But that's what I'm saying. But Mr. Cloud, even bigger than that. If I was a lawyer, I'll be very concerned. Here's another thing. What about backup? People back up in the cloud. There's flash drive. There are flash drive. There are so many ways. There are server networks where stuff is stored internally. You saying that the contents of the court or whatever list of cases are only stored on one single laptop and it's nowhere, no paper trail, nowhere else?
Junior, I couldn't believe this when I heard it. Because we in the age of technology, man, in every way. Look, I practiced in Canada and Nova Scotia before coming home. Let me tell you, man. Look, you go to the proprietary's office, man, and they have a vault downstairs at Water Street where legal documents are stored, and there's a backup system, not at Water Street, up at Citadel Hill on the ground.
Well, there's multiple backups.
It tells you the importance that these countries, the importance they give to the security of court documents for posterity, if not for immediate consumption, but for posterity. But we just do things hikey back, right. It's a variegated pattern of anarchy. Nobody really concentrates on the state. It is time now that we come together as a people, forget about the tribalism that they were trying to perpetuate as Grenadians, and try to put things in order. Because we will become a failed state if we don't. How could legal documents be disappearing? And therefore justice cannot be done. Huh? That's why I told you the prophet Amos, man, justice must roll down like waters, man. Huh? How this man could have a fair hearing at the Court of Appeal with all transcripts?
Yeah.
We had to release them. We had to release them. And the judge was at pains. Everybody is at pains. But the law must prevail. Law without order is tyranny. And order without law is chaos. The law and the rule of law in a democracy must prevail. There must be a separation of powers, as you well know, Junior, between the executive and the judiciary and the legislature. In Grenada, they're all consumed as one. Michelle used to send judges out of here. Mr. Justice Batiste didn't clear his car and all kinds of things. Even the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, because there's a now acting Chief Justice, and there's an advertisement for a new Chief Justice. She herself said that during her tenure, politicians trying to interfere with her discretion and the exercise of her judicial authority. Where are we going?
Yeah,
I lament.
Can the victim's family sue for negligence?
Well,
Sue the state for negligence.
I don't know. To be quite frank, at this stage, I'm not a civil attorney. Maybe they can. Who knows? For compensation. That's another thing. And I've been clamoring for it. And I'm going to make my voice heard on it. Look, when someone rapes somebody, when someone kills somebody, a young man, he's 35 years old, you sentence him to 15, 20 years in jail. They stop sentencing people to hard labor. We want to build an agricultural-based economy. Then we have to resort to the old and correct judicial pronouncements in the past. Since I returned here, and also in Canada, there are certain sentences that you speak of hard labor. I remember Mr. Justice Archibald Ned, Mr. Justice St. Paul, those guys in the old school, when you sentence him to hard labor, because you know why? He can't go into prison and sit down and be fed at the cost of $65 a day to the taxpayer.
Right.
If he likes agriculture, he rears animals and then he's hired out on certain farms to work, and he's paid a certain wage, so that he learns in the process and he rehabilitates himself
Right.
through industry.
Yes.
So who's interested in car maintenance? Well, we have to get rid of that place on Richmond Hill anyhow. That's inappropriate. That's since the 19th century.
That is a whole nother ride along too. I want to get back center. I want to get back front and center about this laptop. This laptop. And the trail of where or who could be involved. Now, were there any police report made? Are you aware of any police report?
Aware of none. And I wanted to raise it at the Court of Appeal, but I don't want to raise something and the court say, okay, well, they would order a police report or something of the sort.
But
I think the state ought to do
a police report. How could they not be? Was the laptop even stolen? Was the laptop even taken? Were there any laptops?
I don't even know if it was stolen. They say it was stolen. There's no proof that it was stolen. But right along, I can raise that. That's adverse to my interest, my client's interest. Yes. They're the state. They're supposed to produce it. And they're supposed to come to the court and say, look, because the Court of Appeal gave them every opportunity to do whatever investigation. No one has come forward and said, look, we have commissioned an investigation into the disappearance of this laptop, so they claim, and we are waiting the final report, or there's a report coming, or this is a report. Nothing of the sort.
So
that was Keith Mitchell administration. That's how they operated. Who knows what has happened and what took place? We know who we're dealing with.
This hurts pretty bad. Hold on. Let's take another call. We got a call on the line. Call. Turn your background down all the way. Turn your background down all the way and listen to me on the phone line. All right. Caller, do me a favor, please. Turn your background all the way down. Like if you are watching the show on your TV, turn the volume down.
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay,
caller.
good night.
Yes, good night.
Good night, Junior. I'm calling from Brooklyn, Crown Heights.
Go ahead. Brooklyn.
My sympathy goes out to the family and friends. Now, I heard you ask Mr. Clouden if the family could sue for negligence. I don't think it's his place to answer that. I think that's where her lawyer comes in. I think he's beat up that not to answer that question.
Yeah, what he did. He said that's not in his interest. But yes, so go ahead.
Okay, right. That is wonderful. And I just wanted to find out if they could have some specialists, when you look at those, I look at those kind of evidence shows like forensic files and stuff where they go into cryptic computers and find those evidence in computers and stuff. Like if they could get like, someone who is technically good on computers to find those things, because there are people that are very good on those kind of stuff to find evidence, because I find this is negligence, that no one was, guarding or safeguarding evidence that, that could have, gone through and, prove this case, because this young woman didn't have to die in vain like this. I mean, come on. I mean, This is somebody's child.
Yes.
This is somebody, I mean, I'm just putting it in a perspective where it's not about politics right now. Mr. Clouden, I respect you as a defense lawyer, but just put yourself in that family's shoes, in that young woman's shoes. What if, I'm not saying it's you, what if it's your daughter? How would you feel?
I'll mourn her person.
Put yourself.
I don't agree. Look, let me tell you, madam, I hate to interrupt you.
Let him respond. Go ahead, Mr. Clouden. Call out 1 second. Let me respond. Yes.
Yeah, madam, let me stop you there. And let me say to you, I appreciate whatever you have said, and you are very accurate in your assessment and perception. But let me tell you, I have a life in my profession, and I have a life with my family and my friends, so that when I discharge my professional responsibility, I do so, and my first duty is to my client, because they pay me.
Right.
Sometimes you may say, is this money, is blood money, is what money? But even in the great United States where you are in Brooklyn, and I went to school there. I went to school in New York at LIU, Brooklyn, DeKalb and Flatbush. So I've been there as a young man, 18 years old, since 1968. I say all that to say to you, even in the great United States of America, some of the most gruesome murders taking place, they have a right to counsel.
Yes.
They would either be provided counsel through legal aid, or as was the case with Clark, it was a legal aid brief because he claimed he didn't have funds and legal aid stood in. And this is the only aspect of our Constitution that mandates in murder you must have representation. So in my private capacity, I love my animals. I don't even like to kill a roach. I let it run away and so forth. I don't use things and do. I have my farm. Look, I ride my horse. I am much of a humanitarian. When I put on my legal cloak, is a different matter.
Yeah. And
Good.
and that's what I'm saying. You're a lawyer and you're representing your client. We got another call on the line. Caller, live, where you calling us from? Caller, are you there?
Good.
And that's what I'm saying. All right, let me see if the caller is okay. We probably lost that caller. Give me an opportunity to speak here with Mr. Anslem Clouden. The number that you call 718-701-5720. That's 718-701-5720. We're talking about this case, guys, and it's still very fresh. There are still many more questions than answers, some of which Mr. Clouden can't even answer. He's representing for his client, and of course, he will represent his client, right? But the main thing that I think that everyone wants to find out is how is it possible in 2022 that a laptop, a computer, where everybody knows that they could have their computer, and if they walk 5 feet away from the computer, that's your personal computer, you get a beep or it tells you, or you could find your laptop wherever you are in the world. And in a case like this, why is it that this laptop was not found and cannot be found? And who stole that laptop? And the bigger question is, was there ever a laptop to begin with? Because we have not even established that, because there was no police report that said that somebody stole a laptop. So all of this stuff could be fabricated. The question is, fabricated by who? Who would have interest? Who would have interest to steal the lone laptop that has specific information on your client? Who would be interested in that? Or who would be most interested in that? That is like the $1 million question.
Well, it's a $1 million question too for the magistrate's court actions, because she complained since 2014 there was a case in 2023, 22, and she had to recall evidence because somebody tampered with her file in the magistrate's court. And up to now, as I spoke to one, there's no criminal investigation conducted as to determine what is going on.
Right.
And let me tell you something, Junior, if we don't drain this swamp, we would not move this country forward as we all are committed to.
Right. Point taken.
Good, very good. Very good.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, live, where are you calling us from?
Grenada.
Yeah, go right ahead, caller.
Mr. Clouden, what
Yes,
is the
sir.
difference between Christina Garden and Trinidad and this case?
I'm not quite hearing. Sorry. You're not. Your audio isn't.
Yeah,
clear.
caller, you have some bad background sound. So take your phone off a speaker. If it's on speaker, take it off a speaker.
The Christina Garden case in Trinidad years ago with Malik and Skirt and them. And did they hang them for burying the lady, Christina?
Yes, they did. As a matter of fact, there was a big calypso on that by one of the guys. How they hang Malik.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, what was the question? Was it the same, or was it any difference? That was the question, caller.
So why did this guy walk?
Well, he didn't walk. He got life.
So why did the guy walk?
Well, he didn't walk. He got 67 years. He's pretty much in his early 40s. he's in there for life.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
walked because of the state inability to provide him with the information. Remember, it's the state that brought him, to court. So the state had to provide the transcript so that he can prosecute his appeal. And if they couldn't do that, then he can't appeal. And you can't. It is only just and fair that he be given a fair hearing. And to get that fair hearing, he must be able to access certain summing up by the judge and the like and recordings, and he couldn't. So they had no choice but to release him.
Yeah. All right.
And that was our application.
And we must also say that every person is entitled to a fair trial and an appeal, and that's what we've seen here. So it's nothing that it is, the justice system is one-sided because of that. Listen, it happened the way how it's supposed to happen, right? And essentially, and I'll say this, some people might get mad. Essentially, it is not Anslem Clouden's fault that he represented his client and his client got off.
Junior George,
it is the inability of the state. It was the inability of the state to provide the documents, right, to prosecute, and that is the problem. So I know we want to get at Mr. Anslem Clouden. He is doing his job, right? Let's take this next call. Caller live, where are you calling us from?
Hello?
Hello, yeah, caller, go right ahead. Where are you calling us from?
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Go ahead.
Okay. To Mr. Clouden.
Yes.
As far as I hear, maybe you can correct me, the client confessed, showed where the body was, and was buried, and what was buried, and he was found guilty. I want to know from Mr. Clouden, what was the basis of your appeal?
Yeah, so that we answer that question. But go ahead.
Yeah, the basis of my appeal was,
But before the laptop was stolen or after?
Long before the laptop was. I don't even know if the laptop was stolen. The allegation is the laptop was stolen. There is no affirmative evidence from the government pointing.
Okay, Junior, I sort of miss
the stealing of the laptop.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Let me start some Clouden finish.
Pointing to the stealing of the laptop. This was just mentioned to the Court of Appeal on the last occasion in March. They have not advanced any cogent evidence to show that an investigation has revealed that the laptop was stolen or the laptop. What are the circumstances concerning the disappearance of the laptop? There's no official representation from the DPP's office. But I don't want to raise that because that's not my concern. I raised what I had to raise successfully, thank God.
Yes.
So that the point I'm making is, man, the man is entitled to a fair hearing. The Grenada Constitution, sections 8(1), guarantees him a fair hearing by an impartial tribunal impartial and independent tribunal established by law.
Yes.
And that applies to trial and appeal. The Privy Council in the case of Damanangal, in the case of Kalasharan, said in the case of Bell, an accused person is entitled to a fair hearing. Look, man, in the case of Randall, it says from Jamaica, an accused, the fair hearing is absolute. It's an absolute. So if there's any incursion or any fetter on the ability of the accused to have a fair trial, the Court of Appeal would quash it.
Yes.
The Randall said that a fair trial is absolute. And where there is no fair trial, the accused must be set free. In this case, there could be no fair hearing at the appellate court because there is no evidence before the court as to what the judges said and the like, and the man must be set free on the grounds of a stay of proceedings on abuse of process.
Yeah.
Abuse of process.
Yeah. No, again, very clear. I completely understand it. Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, live. Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Grenada.
Go right ahead, Grenada.
So I just want to ask Mr. Clouden a question. I heard he said that the laptop was stolen. So if the laptop was stolen with all the information, was the laptop stolen with other information of other criminals? And if they appeal the case, can they have to walk free?
Well, Mr. Clouden is also saying that he don't even know if there was even a laptop to begin with.
They haven't produced any cogent evidence to say this is a theft, and they haven't produced evidence to say, well, look, we realized the laptop had disappeared, so we commissioned the CID to do an investigation. Nothing of the sort.
Right. And the implications are that I'm sure that wasn't, if in fact the laptop was stolen, the implications are that's not the only case that's on the laptop. There might be other cases that might even go against Mr. Clouden or other lawyers as well, because I'm sure. So the big question is, we probably on a wild goose chase for a laptop that.
But what I'm saying, Junior. What I'm saying, right? The guy showed where he put the body, which means the eyes have it. The superiors, the judges, everybody knew the guy killed the young lady.
But that's not an
because
issue.
Everybody see.
Yeah, but what he's saying is that is not the case. It's null and void. Yes, okay, that he's found guilty for that. The question is, because everybody's entitled to an appeal, they cannot produce the credential, the information for his appeal. He's entitled to it. If they cannot produce that although he was found guilty on technical grounds, they have to be released.
Yeah, but Junior, you're perfectly right. Look, man, understand this.
Okay.
This idea of burying in the grave and all of that, the jury of Grenadians, 12 of them decided unanimously that he's guilty. He brought the police there. His girlfriend, Brittany, his keeper, babysitter, brought the police there. There's no dispute about that. We went through a trial. But in the course of the summing up to the jury, there were certain errors on the face of the record that we wanted to appeal. So we appealed. Having appeal, you need to have the record of proceedings and the summation made by the judge to determine whether there are defects or misdirections given to the jury, which would warrant a conviction unsafe or unsatisfactory if we win. Now, if we had won at that stage, gotten the transcripts and everything, the Court of Appeal could use the proviso and say, look, notwithstanding defects in the summing up or defects here and there, we believe that no miscarriage of justice has occurred, and we support the judgment of the court.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to give them teeth to bite on, because there's no record of those proceedings.
Yeah. We got another caller. That's the one before the last caller. So caller, you one before the last. Go right ahead.
Hey, Junior George.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
How you doing? This is Denison George.
Hey, Denison George.
And let me just say this, Junior. I am not surprised. I am not surprised by this ruling, because from the beginning, we covered this case from the beginning, and I'm just telling Grenadians, my fellow citizens, to ban your belly, because there is more to come. We have to understand, as Mr. Clouden just said, Grenada has reached a position prior to June 23rd where our judiciary was run with political interference. From the beginning of this case, there was a lot of people was calling for some kind of investigation in this case, because even Brittany, after Brittany confessed to her participation in that murder, she was not tried. She was not prosecuted. She was not charged, and a lot of Grenadians question why she was charged, but she did not was fully prosecuted for her participation in this crime. And a lot of Grenadians thought it was political interference. I think it was by the prior attorney, her relationship. I think the prior attorney general, there was some kind of relationship there. But let me just say this to you, Junior. The prior administration, this is just some of the fruits from the prior administration, and Grenadians better start banning their belly.
Yes.
Because not only political, not only judicial, but there is a lot more to come out. That this is the fruits from the prior administration.
Yes. Okay.
And I'm telling you, we better get ready because there is more to come. Because our judicial system has been plagued, has been infiltrated by our political leaders in the prior cases.
Yes.
And look at other cases. Look, we had cases where we had pedophile come to Grenada and molested a young child.
Right.
And he was charged $600 and sent back to the United States.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is that Grenadians better get ready.
Right.
There is more to come because the prior administration has put our country in jeopardy, not only judicially, but politically, economically. And Grenadians better get ready for more bad news to come.
All right. Thank you so much.
Junior, let me say hi to my cousin.
Okay.
Dennis is my cousin. We hail from the Forrester family, both of us. And I'm Learned Counsel, my legal colleague. He's been lucidly clear. Look, there's more to come. I don't want to say anything for people to say this and that. Because Clouden is a Caracouan, and sometimes. Well, I was born and raised there, although my mother.
We have to wrap up around here. I
want to say nothing much.
We're supposed to have a dead stop at 7:00. But just to wrap up, Mr. Clouden, what's next for your client? Is your client already out of the country?
Well, he made representations, I'm advised, to the British High Commissioner Chargé d'Affaires resident here. Because you see, the same thing as I've said before, there is no hard labor. Well, he was on remand, so he couldn't work. So he has come out of jail without anything. So he's trying to get out. He's awaiting a ticket from his family in London. And he should be out, based on my own advice and inquiry, very, very shortly, as soon as the ticket arrives.
Right. And it's perfectly legal to do so because he's a free man. He walked up to the court. He's a free man in the eyes of the law.
Not only free, he's a Grenadian citizen too by virtue of marriage.
Right.
But no moment is made of this. I think he would do us great service by returning to London.
Okay.
It would quell the uprising. But I want to say, Junior, I know you have to cut, but let me tell you, there's more to come. More like this. This we had just saved. The rule of law was so depreciated. This government never paid judgments. Look, Dorset Charles have died out of grief, and he hasn't even gotten all his money since they had demolished his touristic facility, and this guy refused to pay him. Look, man, we thank God that his hand had passed over Grenada, and the people have elected a government, I think, with a hope and showing certain hope that better days are ahead.
Yeah. All right. Good. Thank you so much, Mr. Clouden, for your clarification on this case right here. We appreciate you. Brother, we'll keep in touch, all right?
Good, man. Always.
All right.
Always a pleasure to be on, Junior.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching and being a part of our program today. Again, guys, listen, I know that everyone is emotional about this. People are saying blame it on the police. How could the police allow that to happen? How could the judge allow this to happen? It goes way deeper than that, guys. We need to find out the root cause of this, and it needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed. I don't think that the police have anything to do. The police have done their job. The judge in the case, the initial judge in the case, did her job. The question remains, and the question is the disappearance of this document. Now, it kind of makes me start to think now, the laptop. Was there ever a laptop that was ever missing? Are we on a wild goose chase? Because, hey, I would think that if there is a disappearance of a court document so important, then they would have a police report. I would think that would be the first thing. And we have no evidence that there is. We have no information. But as far as the lawyer, he has no information on it either. So it's a big question mark as to that police report on that missing laptop. So it begs the question, was there ever a laptop in the first place? But listen, we go find out. Whatever is out there, we'll find it. All right, our $8,500 still stands, and we're looking for that laptop that's missing, because it's probably would never affect this case. This case is done with, but it may affect other cases in the future. And we want to make sure that justice prevail and we don't see a slew of criminals out on the road based on these type of technicalities that could potentially happen again. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being a part of our program. Ciao. On the behalf of all our production team here, our senior producer, Lois JJ, our moderators who have been working extra hard over this past couple of days, Lois JJ, big up yourself. Deanne Fraser, Kibbs, Gail, big up all yourself. I know all you're working hard. Thanks again for the love and support, all the top fans and supporters. We say good night. Bye-bye.
Now this will be the only event moving in Brooklyn on Saturday, September 24th. Get ready for Kings of Kings 2. Kings of Kings 2. Vincy meets Greens. Going down inside 178 Newport Street, Brooklyn, New York. This will be one wicked fest featuring live from St. Vincent, Magical. Magical. The Road Match King, Kemi, and Malo, and representing Greens, Dash, Was Waves, Ludus Park, and Electrify, Mr. Legs, Inspector, Push, Quickie, and more. Some of Brooklyn's top DJs are coming to share the place. Hosted by Big Pumps HD, and it's the official Miami Carnival Send-Off. Get your $40 tickets now on eventbrite.com, www.kingsofkings2.eventbrite.com, or contact 646-363-1020, 347-651-3745. Going down inside 178 Newport Street, Brooklyn, New York. Doors open 9 p.m. Showtime midnight. Saturday, September 24th. Kings of Kings 2. Jesus Christ.
Grenadian products are now only a mouse click away at grenadermarket.com. Nutmeg and guava jams, jellies and the syrups, world famous nutmeg pain relief spray, black sage, soursop, lemongrass, and guabande bar. Ordering is simple and friendly. All major credit cards accepted. Safe, secure shopping guaranteed. GrenaderMarket.com ships your product anywhere in the world. So when you can't go to the island, the products off the island can be sent to you. Just log on to www.grenadermarket.com and experience our quick delivery and homely service.